lastly, before we wrap up, I think we're all here through immigration, and just to personalize it, and you can feel free to answer or not. What is your personal immigration story? How did you end up being in this place? We can't talk about the numbers and the statistics and generally, to kind of personalize it and bring it back to a man or woman level. Share your immigration story. And if nobody wants to share it, I'll share mine. Blade, talk about when them kick you out the ocean.
I wasn't trying to come here. I've said that there's no secret. I was okay in Ochi. I was good. I wasn't trying to come here. But I was a kid. I was young. So your parents made the decision for you. But the news and what we were seeing, LA riots and firing up, I wasn't trying to come here. I was good in Ochi. This was the last place. The only place I wanted to go was England. Because back then in Jamaica, we used to watch like Allo Allo and Mr. Bean and all that stuff. So I wanted to go to England. I wasn't trying to come to the US. So my immigration story is my parents said, look here, look man, we'll bring you in this world and we'll take you out the world. You're coming. I said, yes, boss. Matter of fact, they mean to tell me lie. They say you're going on the plane on Wednesday. So I said, okay, I'm going to tell my little girlfriend by on Monday. And they told me that, hey, Monday afternoon, they told me that, hey, follow me to the airport. I'm going to do something.
And then kidnap you.
I ain't even have a suitcase packed. I go airport Monday. I still in my cut up pants. I'm a little polo shirt with my Nike Air Max. Got airport Monday.
You did rich.
Nike
rich. You're rich.
When I got airport. Yeah, when I go to airport, that's when them buy the ticket at the airport. You buy the ticket at the airport and say you're not going to stay down there. Go on, your uncle will wait for you at Philadelphia. Like, oh.
So where you go first? New York?
Philadelphia. I came to Philadelphia with 22 inches of snow with a little windbreaker. When I come off an airplane, my worst one go back on my yard because I said, I'm make to live at that place. 22 inches of snow, dog. That's what I remember. Me in a cut up jeans, Air Max, and polo shirt. I have nothing in winter jacket on. You understand? That me come up wearing too. I never want this. One day in my yard, me I left off my beach and I come to this. No boss.
Would you go back to live?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If finances were okay, in terms of ability to earn, I would love to spend like half of the time in the islands, in the Caribbean, and like the other half, elsewhere. But there's nothing going on there where I'm like I wouldn't go back. Every time I go back to the islands, regardless if it's Jamaica or whichever island in the Caribbean, once you exit immigration, you just feel like a gorilla hop off of your back. Like this big,
that's true,
weight just come off of your back. Like you feel light, here just light. That feeling you don't get here. The last 2 days before I leave the Caribbean to come back here is depressing.
Sad.
The last 2 days, the night before, you drink the heaviest. The night before you're supposed to go to the that night you drink the heaviest.
Hey,
yeah, come back.
You got to buy Mr. Trump's in your back.
Hey, the beauty about it is that I stayed in touch with everybody there and made sure that we never threw a stone behind me. So,
all right. Anybody else want to share their story?
Well, my story is a lot different from y'all. Conceived in Jamaica. Okay. Grandma went to New York. Rest in peace, Grandma. Glad I got it. Went to New York. Got papers. First one she sent for was my mother. So she came from Jamaica to New York, Brooklyn. I was born like a month later. So
Bushwood.
My story.
Police? I know you're born in Baytown.
Yes, I was born in Baytown, but my grandfather was a welder. My grandmother was a nurse. They moved their 6 children who are all Trinidad born moved up to the Virgin Islands where my grandfather continued to work in the plant. And then they moved to Baytown, Texas, where Exxon is the biggest plant. And that's where he retired from. My grandmother continued to be a nurse. But what's funny about that story, he said he didn't want to come here. My aunts and my mom and uncles, they were happy to come here for whatever reason. And if you speak to them, you would never know that they was from the islands. The only person that kept up with it, thank God, was my mom. And she passed it on to me, and I'm passing it on to my son. But my aunts and uncles, none of them married Caribbean people. They married all out of their race. And my mom was the only one that married somebody from the Caribbean. So that's interesting to me. But yeah, that's my story.
It's not unfamiliar though, because even in Jamaica, there is like a section of Jamaica where they believe that is the way to go. And like even when you come here, you're not supposed to speak patois. Like how we doing now and talking now is the ultimate sin. Like it irked the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Uptown, downtown thing.
Yeah, there's a large section of people who believe that. Even in some of the groups that I'm in on Facebook right now, you know. So that they got in argument with your friend Chris, with Tabitha, because she typed in a pocket. You're so ghetto. Oh my God, you're talking it, and I'm reading it like that's a native tongue in a Jamaican group, and cause somebody type in a pattern. So it's everywhere. It's not.
Yeah. So my story is the same bloody election time period we're talking about, 1980. You know, I was living in Jamaica then, and you know, things were dangerous. You know, then I wasn't in town. It was really bad in town. It wasn't that bad in the country, but things were dangerous. So my parents were just looking for another option, you know. And so they basically, as a, you know, my father's a principal, my mother's a teacher, they went to Florida for a conference, fully intending to overstay their visas, which is exactly what they did. And while we were still back in Jamaica. From there, left and went to New York. And my mother told me this. They left from Jamaica to the US with, I think, $56, because that was the maximum amount that they would allow you to carry so that people didn't overstay their visas. So they came here $56. You know, we're still back in Jamaica living with auntie. And, you know, they were in New York, you know, working and sending things back for 3.5 years, you know, until mommy got somebody to sponsor her, you know, and then from that she was able to, you know, come back, you know, first of all, get daddy sponsored and, you know, legalized, and then they came back, you know, 4 years to come and get us. The thing to understand about that is, you know, we're from a country, no phone, nothing like that. So for that long period of time, we didn't speak to, you know, mommy and daddy at all. Well, maybe like once or twice we got to visit a cousin in Kingston where they have phone. So that's a long, nowadays you can't imagine that, right? Because you can't Skype and FaceTime and all these things. But I just want to big up, you know, the parents, such as my parents and other parents who left during that time, who, you know, sacrificed a hell of a lot to come here and give, and they did that entirely for us. That is why they did it, because, you know, they were fine, you know, they were doing well, but they wanted to give us opportunity. So everybody of that generation who made such sacrifices to give their kids an opportunity to make something out of themselves and make a thing in life, you know, big them up. So, you know, my story is that it's not an uncommon story. That's everybody's story, you know, or those who came before us sacrificed a hell of a lot for us to be doing things. And so, you know, it's our goal to make them proud each and every day with the way we live our life and the accomplishments that we make. So,
do you ever wonder what life would have been like had you still been in Jamaica?
I do. I think about that all the time. You know, thinking from what I do and what my interests have always been, I'm pretty sure I would be living in Kingston, which is a place, you know, it's not my favorite place. Because I love the country life, but from you know, I've always been a technically inclined person, and to get those kind of jobs, you know, with you know, those sort of companies doing that, I'm pretty sure I would be doing that living in town somewhere. So it crosses my mind every now and then. I also think about if Daddy didn't have a cousin in Houston, for him to come and visit Houston and prefer it to New York, my life would have been like if I had gone to New York where they were and grew up there. I think it would have been different. That's another place that I couldn't see myself living. I like visiting, couldn't see myself living there. So I think about that all the time. But things work out as they did for that guy. So that's the way he ordained things.
That's one of the two things I think about now and then, right? So the first one was, when I passed my SATs or whatever, I got choices between Old Dominion, Prairie View, and Michigan State, right? And a few others, but those were the three that responded first with scholarships and all that stuff, right? And I just happened to have an aunt who been to Prairie View. That's how Prairie View got picked, right? But I wanted to go to Old Dominion because they had a soccer program, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I'm playing soccer in Jamaica in college, so it would be a nice of a transition. But
where's Old Dominion?
I think up Boston, up that side, somewhere up north. I don't want to lie to you. I didn't even visit the campus. I just got the...
It's in Virginia. Next.
In Virginia? Yeah, I never visit the campus. I know it's up north somewhere.
Well, it's on your camera.
But that was one of the things that I asked. What if I didn't come to Houston and I picked one of those schools? You know what I'm saying? Because I had folks from Knox who went to Michigan State. There was like 5 other people who went there. You know what I'm saying? That I would have been going there with. So that was one of the things. I'm coming here and all the stories you heard before coming to Texas, all that stuff. And then, before coming to the States, period, I just got a job as assistant manager at a hotel. I'm making my own way down there in Jamaica. I wasn't thinking about here. You know what I'm saying?
About his rent a dread.
Well, no, I was braided up back then. No offense. I had cornrows and,
Anyway.
But,
so we could really so that's we'll talk about that for a while, but this episode was to just celebrate all things Caribbean. Hope it was informative. I hope it was entertaining. But we're just taking a break from the kind of heavy topics we've been covering the first few weeks because hey, that's our world, that's what we live, and we have to discuss these things. But in the midst of all of that, we are who we are because of our Caribbean heritage. Everything that I am, everything that I value in life, it is because of that upbringing and being raised by strong Caribbean parents on strong Caribbean people. My values, the way I see the world, is through that lens. So we celebrate Caribbean American Heritage Month, and we hope to educate more people about this holiday. It's not a holiday, it's a celebration, like a month. We can do this, every week, but it's important to acknowledge the contributions that we've made up throughout this society since the very foundation of this country till today, from Alexander Hamilton to this policewoman you see over here. So we all have a lot. This country has benefited from our presence here, and we should be proud of that and acknowledge it and sing it from the rooftops.